Hello everyone, I hope everyone is doing good and taking good care of themselves. Remember, if you're fit and fine, you can take better care of your loved ones. So today we are going to talk about reparenting. Yes, the name itself is quite confusing, and we all grow up with parents, and they do the parenting job. So what is it all about, when it comes to reparenting? What does that mean? Yeah, so let's first understand what reparenting is. Yeah, so reparenting is when an adult works to meet their own emotional or physical needs that went unmet in their childhood. Yeah, so if you are not emotionally treated well, or if you did not learn how to regulate your emotions, or if you had an abusive childhood, your parents were abusive and toxic, and they did not address address to the emotional needs that you had. So handling and managing all of those things that you missed in the childhood is known as reparenting in current time. So reparenting is all about addressing to all those things that was not met during the childhood. Yeah, so these needs may include affection, security, routine, structure, and a lot of things. Emotional regulation is one of the things that this includes, and also compassion. So whenever these things are not met and addressed to properly, when you grow up, you need to sort it out and fix it, and that is what reparenting is all about. Okay, now if you see, a parent or a caregiver may not have fulfilled all of their child's needs, which is quite obvious. In this busy times, it's not obvious that everyone can fulfill or accomplish 100% being a parent. And some things are left unchecked, or some things are just ignored, or maybe because of them not being aware, they often ignore it. Parents are also not aware of everything. They have to provide, they have to handle, they have to do quite a lot of things. So some things go unchecked, unnoticed, and not taken care of. And also, if you see, when the child grows up into an adult, they may actually need to learn how to give themselves what they lacked in the childhood. So what actually lacked during the childhood, if it's not compensated, or if it is not addressed to even in the adulthood, the child is bound to have challenges with their personal life, professional life, and in their behavior and everything. So it needs to be, in a way, if you see, satiated, or it needs to be addressed to, and it needs to be checked. So this is what reparenting is all about. Reparenting, you can do it yourself, you can do it with the help of a therapist, and these are the two ways that you can reparent yourself. Now let us understand what are the areas where we can actually improve with the help of reparenting. Yeah, we have understood what reparenting is, and how it impacts a child, and how it needs to be done even in the adulthood, so that the child doesn't have dysfunctional relationships, or any kind of dysfunctionality, or problems with their emotional regulation. So areas where we can improve with the help of reparenting. Number one is that we can actually learn to name and express our emotions. Yes, it is very essential to understand how you feel, what you feel, and to name those emotions. Sometimes, often what happens is that we are unable to understand how we are feeling. We might feel anxious, but we might assume that we are angry. We might be happy, but we assume that it's excitement. So there is a lot of confusion when we don't grow up with clarity, and when we are not taught how to address to the right emotions with the right name. So yes, when reparenting, as far as reparenting is concerned, reparenting helps us to name and express the emotions in the right manner. So we are able to understand what is what and what is not. Yeah. So that adds more to, understanding emotions better when we actually undergo reparenting, or we reparent ourselves by ourselves or by taking someone else's help. The next one is that, we can learn to create healthy boundaries. Yes. Most of the children face problem in creating healthy boundaries because they have not experienced what healthy boundaries in their childhood. Mostly narcissistic parents and toxic parents and abusive parents, they really don't respect the individuality and the healthy boundaries, and they don't identify children as self. They identify children as an extension of them, so they don't respect or give their children the autonomy, and they keep that control. They are very controlling. So all of these actually, uh, gives a very wrong impression to the child growing up, and because of that, the children are unable to understand and identify what healthy boundaries are, and because of that, they are bound to suffer. Yes, a lot of us suffer because of unhealthy boundaries, and a lot of things are there. So yes, by reparenting, we are able to understand and we learn how to create healthy boundaries. The next one is that, you can change your, view of yourself. Sometimes what happens is that we lack discipline, we lack confidence, we lack self-esteem, because we were not introduced to do these things in childhood because of our dysfunctional family, or because of our toxic parent, or reason could be anything. And once we are unaware of these things, we start to view ourselves in a wrong way. For example, let me present it in front of you. If there is a case of a toxic parent, so the toxic parent is always into manipulating and being overly, critical about their children. This helps weaken the self-confidence in a child. So the child, grows up assuming that I'm worthless, I'm not capable enough, I don't have I'm not worthy of self-esteem, I don't have anything called self-respect, because that is what they are growing up they are experiencing and facing these things. So because of that, once they grow up, they still have that perception about themselves, that we are not complete, we are not enough, we are not sufficient, we lack things, and we are not capable. So because the childhood actually leaves a lot of good and bad watermarks on a child's memory, and growing up with all these things, it really affects the adulthood of a child. So the children begins to see themselves in a wrong way, which they are not exactly. So reparenting also helps us to see ourselves in the right way and not the wrong way, how we were made to believe how we are. So often what happens is that because of these narcissistic parents and toxic parents, they are so much into abuse, manipulation and gaslighting. They really keep us away from our individuality. They really, first of all, they don't identify and respect autonomy and healthy boundaries. So they confiscate their child out of all these things. And because of that, the child really is unable to develop self-esteem, self-worth and confidence. And because of that, there is a very weird kind of a feeling that a child grows up with, and that is being less worthy, not sufficient enough, not up to the mark. Yeah. And all of this really creates hurdle and problem. Everyone is different, everyone is unique, and everyone is born with good qualities and bad qualities as well. So I mean, we need to see both. We need to learn to see both the good and the bad qualities. We just can't keep on, looking at the bad qualities and lead our lives. That is not how it is. We have to see good and we have to see bad, and we have to moderate and learn to live with both the things. And that is what constitutes everyone. I mean, wherever you go, there is dark and light, there is good and bad. So no one person is absolutely bad or no one person is absolutely good. Yeah. And also, if you see, with the help of reparenting, we can also change how we view others. Often what happens is that we are made to see things like, for example, I was made to see other religion people as inferior. Yeah, I mean, like, that's how narcissistic and toxic my upbringing was. And I grew up in a typical family, and that is how, I mean, those who did not believe to what our family was believing were not considered okay. And I mean, those who did not live the life the way how my family was living, they were not considered okay. So this was quite a lot of toxicity and dysfunctionality, and that is what I grew up with until and unless I started exploring and started seeing the other side of the picture as well. So I mean, I had to reparent myself, and I had to see that there are other things to look at. I mean, I was not shown the complete picture. I was just shown a very biased, generalized viewpoint, and that's what I was made to believe, that it was correct. Whereas in reality, it's absolutely different. So that is again, one of the things that we learn when we reparent ourselves. We learn to see and develop and change the view how we look at others. Yeah. Not all five fingers are the same. So how can we expect every human to be the same? We should embrace and respect differences, and it's okay to disagree. It's absolutely fine. But that doesn't make one qualify to be bad. I mean, I might like something, you might not like that. So I mean, I shouldn't be categorizing you in a specific category and then generalizing it, and then trying to show my kids that, okay, fine, this is how these people are. No, I mean, if something is good for me, it might be bad for someone else. Let them develop their own perception. Let's not spoon feed people's perception, and let them explore and develop it. Yeah. So that is one of the things that we learn when we start reparenting ourselves. The next one is that we understand what a healthy relationship looks like. Often kids who grow up in dysfunctional and toxic family, they tend to realize and believe that abuse, any kind of physical, verbal, or any kind of emotional abuse is normal, is a part of family. So again, it's a wrong perception that the child is growing up with, because the child is seeing all of these things. So when the child grows up into an adult, and when they have their own family, they start doing the same things, and they feel and believe that it's normal, whereas it is not. So that is what reparenting helps us understand what a healthy relationship looks like. It helps us to identify what is toxic and what is healthy, and it helps us to create those healthy boundaries. And the next thing that reparenting helps us with is that it helps us to improve our communication skill. So often, if you see, in childhood, we used to be very stubborn. Some of the kids used to be stubborn. They used to just do all those tantrums to get this some toy or something from their parent. But as how we grow up, we still don't have that tendency. It changes. I'm talking about a healthy growth. it changes. We are not that stubborn. We don't do all those foolish things of not eating and not talking unless you don't get me this thing. But there are some individuals and some adults who have these tendencies still. What they had it in the childhood, they still do the same thing in their adulthood as well. And that is where the problem lies, because they were not coached well, or they were not brought up well. They still have those traits coming into their adult life as well, and that is what is not healthy for their adult life. We need to understand what is possible, what is not possible, what is doable, what is not doable. We need to know our limits. We need to know how much can we go, how much others can do for us. We need to understand all of those things. So we tend to learn how to communicate. So I mean, like, we don't communicate the same way how we used to communicate in the childhood. So that is very essential. In adulthood, maybe we can then see and analyze, okay, fine, this is my parents are not capable, they might not be able to do it for me. But in childhood we had no such understanding. So our way of communication, our way of communicating back then was different, and our way of communicating now would be different, because we know, we have more understanding and clarity what their current situation is. So all of this, we really improve in a lot of ways when we initiate the process of our reparenting. Now, what are the things that we need to remember when we are undergoing reparenting, either by ourselves or with the help of a psychotherapist? First thing that we all need to understand is the importance of being curious. Yes, a curious mind leads to a lot of invention, leads to a lot of things. So always have a curious mind. Don't be just done with it and bored with it. Always be curious. Keep learning, keep understanding. Have that hunger inside to learn and to find out why, when, how. So keep asking yourself questions and keep helping yourself out with the answers. So keep looking for it. Just be curious. Don't be saturated and be like, no, I'm just done. This is what life is. I'm just done. I know it all. No, we all don't know everything. We all keep learning. Yeah, and learning is a never-ending process. The next one is whenever we are reparenting, or we are into the process of reparenting, we always need to maintain self-compassion. Yes, self-compassion is very essential, and if you see, self-compassion can be the key in the willingness to unlearn the old and rediscover the new. So self-compassion is something which is very essential when it comes to reparenting yourself. The next one is practice patience. You shouldn't be impulsive when you are reparenting yourself and go back to your old habits and the old ways how you used to look at things and behave and react to. There has to be persistence, and persistence comes with patience. So you just can't give up with one or two tries and just go back to the usual self. No, you have to keep on trying, and the more you try, the more you fail, the more you try, you learn a lot of things, and that is what helps you to keep going forward. So always have patience. Don't give up easily. Have patience and let things grow. Let things take its own time and grow and evolve. Don't just give up. The next one is that be intentional. Whenever you are into reparenting yourself, or you are taking help of a psychotherapist to help you reparent yourself, you need to have intention. You need to have the right intention to actually reparent yourself. You just can't be non-intentional. You have to be absolutely 100% intentional when you are initiating the process of reparenting, because old patterns are very hard and difficult to break. So you need to be very sure that you want to come out of that old life and start a new life. You need to unlearn the old things, and you need to relearn the new things. So you need to have your intents absolutely correct and right. You shouldn't have any confusions in that. And the next one is that always allow yourself to stay consistent with the process, and remind yourself of ways you have grown and what you are working towards. So always keep the picture and the roadmap clear, so that you are not confused and you don't have a tendency to give up and be tired and just give up and just run away from it. So keep a very clear picture. You have to be consistent, and nothing is impossible for a willing heart. So just give in your 100%, and definitely you can recondition yourself, you can reparent yourself. And yes, reparenting is quite similar to reconditioning, but again, reconditioning is a different topic that I will address to later. So I hope I must have brought some amount of clarity on the topic of reparenting and how it helps us to be the newer us with more of emotional regulation, balance, harmony, and betterment. Hope you all like this video. Please do like, share, subscribe this video, and do comment below in case if you would want to share in some experience. Lots of love and blessings to all of you. Bye.